Okay, I would like to call the Community Television Board of Directors regular meeting, April 25th, 2013, to order. Could we have the roll call, please?
James Fisher?
Present.
Tess Fitzgerald?
Here.
Denise Gallant? Absent. Keith Gudger?
Here.
Joe Hall?
Here.
Karen Machado? Absent. Jennifer Pittman?
Here.
Matilda Rand? Absent. Dory Steinman?
Here.
Lou Tuasto? Absent. Adam Wade?
Here.
Thank you. Now I would like to have oral communications. Anyone can address the board that's not on the agenda, about an item that's not on the agenda.
I just would like to introduce Janice O'Driscoll from the Santa Cruz Public Library. She wanted to make a comment.
Thank you. I came here to thank you. My name is Janice O'Driscoll. I'm manager of programs and partnerships for the public library, and I'm representing the library and the Friends of the Library and Santa Cruz Reads. I want to thank you very much for all of the coverage for our wonderful big read in March when we read The Grapes of Wrath and highlighted all the work of John Steinbeck, and we had all kinds of theater and all kinds of music, and we had wonderful discussions, and many of these were taped by you, and we appreciate it, and they're all running. Many of them are running already. I've seen some of them, and I just want to tell you how much I appreciate that you are part of the community and supporting things like what the library and the Friends of the Library and Santa Cruz Reads does. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Janice.
Thank you.
Are there any other people that would like to address the board? Thanks. Are there any additions or deletions to the current agenda? Okay. So now we have the consent agenda.
I'd like to correct item 2 in the minutes. Ron Holman did address the board, and it said no one addressed the board, so that'll be amended.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Well, if there are no other comments on the consent agenda, I'll move the consent agenda with the correction to the minutes noted by the clerk of the board.
Second.
Okay, there's no need to discuss this, I guess. Then I will call a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, the first regular agenda item is the discussion of appointment of Nathan C. Benjamin to CTV Board Seat E2. Okay, there's a brief discussion in the packet of Nathan's background. The Governance Committee met earlier this year and approved him to be on the board. Is there any questions or discussion?
Well, I was part of that governance committee, and I felt that he was a strong candidate. And I thought that he would be a good addition to our board.
So not knowing anything about Nathan Benjamin, I did what we all do now and click on Google. And I'm very, very impressed.
For those who don't know, he was the attorney in the case about the overpass free speech during the Iraq War when Caltrans was allowing pro-war demonstrators and not anti-war demonstrators. So that's a real important case. Also, for all of you people who love organic farming, he was the attorney on the case of Jacob's Farm, where the Brussels sprouts growers were spraying and it was drifting onto the organic crops, and that was damaging, and that is a very important precedent that was set. So great resume, so I'm looking forward to Nathan's presence on our board. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Any other discussion from the...
Just one other thing. We discussed his appointment previously, and what impressed me about it is he expressed interest and had some background and some aspects of community TV and in kind of community activities in terms of, what community TV is all about. And there was quite a bit of a statement in what he wrote about it. Now, that's not reflected here as much because this was in the previous time that he was under consideration before we tabled it. So I think it's important to note that other than, some of these other things are interesting, but he did express a specific interest in the work that we do here.
Thank you. I want to make sure there's no other further discussion from the audience. I'll bring it back to the board.
I just have one. So Denise Gallant has officially resigned?
That's our understanding, yes. She wrote us an email saying that she could not be on the board any longer.
Okay, I just wasn't aware of that, so she should be stricken from the roll call.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a good point, Heather. We probably should, in the same, accept her resignation and then vote for Nathan Benjamin, just as a protocol.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the bylaws just let her resign on her own without it being accepted. Like if she has a written letter, you can say she was resigned
does.
as of, yeah,
Yeah, I think that's true.
as of whatever date it is. She's considered resigned. I didn't know. It's okay.
So I think then for the record, you declare the seat vacant, and I'll move that we declare the seat vacant. Anyone want to second that?
I'll second.
Then appoint your new one after the vote on this.
Yes, so I'd like to call a vote on this. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passed. Thank you, Joe.
Then I move that we accept the recommendation for Nathan, for the appointment of Nathan Benjamin.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion? In other words, I'll call a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. The next item on the agenda is discussion of the fundraising letter and telephone. The fundraising committee has met 3 times. And I have had to take over the chair, so I was the chair of that committee. The committee specifically has been not addressing long-term fundraising issues because of hopefully the arrival of a development director which will set those priorities with community television staff and board. So we were looking at short-term. There's a $9,000 budget item in this year's budget. This year's budget ends June 30th. We have a very short amount of time to attempt to raise that money. So the fundraising committee has recommended 2 items to do that. One is a letter to members and possibly former members to ask that they donate. We've never asked our members to donate beyond their membership fees. Can't get money without asking, as they say. And then the committee looked at several options and would like to recommend that we have a telethon. I believe it's the 28th through the 30th of June. And those are the recommendations of the fundraising committee. The committee also is looking at another fundraiser in the fall when we have a development director and we have a better idea of what that will be. To ensure we have a place large enough to hold that, we asked if the staff of community television could reserve Loudon Nelson for a weekend. Originally, it was going to be the end of September. Kathy has looked into that. And it's the second weekend in October has now been reserved for that. And Kathy, can you tell us how, if we were to change our minds on that date or Loudon Nelson, how long do we have to get our
Isn't that the
deposit
only
back?
time that it was free?
Exactly sure. I think that we need to give them a week's notice,
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
but I'm not positive about that. I don't recall off the top of my head.
Okay. I just don't want to let it pass. And,
Oh, no, we have plenty of time.
Okay.
We have plenty of time. I think it's the second or third week in October. Okay.
Did we reserve both days? Or
Yes.
And is that because we're thinking of a fundraiser that's 2 days long?
Just in case.
Just in case.
Yeah, we could use both days, and we just have to give them, there's certain things we have to do beforehand, permits. There are permits that we have to apply for pretty soon if we're going to serve alcohol, if we're going to sell alcohol. I don't have that information in front of me. I wasn't, but there are certain things that we do have to do before everything is firmed up. We have the dates, but we still have to get the permits.
But the committee's thinking about an outdoor event with.
It could be
Things happen.
partially outdoors and partially indoors. I mean, we
Okay.
have almost the whole facility.
So
for
it
both
gives us a lot
days.
of options to be
Yeah,
creative.
we have a lot of options.
That sounds
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
So is there any questions about the fundraising committee report?
No, I was just, I agreed. I thought how you handle this is doable in the time we have to deal with. Not, a big event, but just a request and a continuous request on the air for a while.
Okay.
Do we need a motion? I'd like to move that we accept the fundraising letter to go out.
With edits?
Jennifer has
You have
suggested
some
some
edits?
edits.
Okay.
Couple
Open to
edits?
anyone who wants to suggest
Then
edits.
fine.
Just with a couple, I think just a couple of edits. I think we could also ask them to share and recruit new members as well in this letter, just to put it out there.
That's a good idea.
Share your passion about CTV with others and encourage people to become members. And then that other thing, I had mentioned to Keith earlier, I think it's probably better not to cap their donations at 500, but to leave it open, or else to raise that number. We did get a couple of $1,000 donations last year. I think there was last year when we did our bowl-a-thon, and so why say this much to that much when you could say this much or however much? I don't know how we want to word that, but just open that up. But I think it's great to get this out there. That's great.
So shall I accept that as amended and move that we accept the letter as amended?
Well, I don't know that we necessarily
Do we
need to
need to
have
do
a
that?
motion
Okay.
on the letter. I think just as long as we accept that
letter.
we have a letter
Yeah. That you're gonna
that's
send out.
going out. And
What I was
give
kind of looking for is accepting the fundraising committee's
Yeah.
Okay.
recommendations.
recommendations.
Letter.
Okay.
And especially the fact that we're going to do a telethon. That needs to be approved by the board, is my understanding. Okay. And we have Tom would like to talk to us?
Yeah, just a couple of comments. One,
Yes, please.
you might think about not just limiting this to members. You have a lot of people in your database that you've done services for, that kind of thing, and it's an opportunity to ask, the larger community for help. You're a resource to the entire community, not just to the members here. That was one thought. The other, and I'm not sure if this is the right place to do it, but I really think you need to start, whenever you communicate with members, asking for email addresses so you can eventually convert over to electronic communications, which will not only save you money, but be a whole lot more efficient. So, just 2 comments.
Thank you.
Is this also an opportunity for us to contact our partners and ask them if they want to make donations for the in-kind, and like some kind of donations for the telethon? Can we mix those two together, or do we want to keep those separate? Rather than send out a separate mailer, we could add another bullet that says, provide donations for our telethon, or keep your eyes open for our great telethon fundraiser coming up.
Okay. So the suggestion is to mention the telethon and talk about in-kind?
Ask for donations or something to make that, combine that, make that possible.
There was a fair amount of sensitivity in the committee to not turn this into an auction, and your name was brought up several times in that regard, that we should ask Joe his opinion. So,
From KUSP days, yeah,
Right.
they did tremendous amounts of work on auctions, and they finally just ran out of energy to do it. And they were great fun, they were real big community events, but the amount in didn't supersede to simple letter requests, and so they were stopped.
Good point.
so I would think if we have some in-kind donations that we could use as bonuses for the 10th person that calls in with a certain amount, whatever
For the
we can do.
telethons?
I'm also,
Call now and you'll get a massage by Suzy Q or something. Yeah. Good plan.
and several bonuses for becoming a member at a certain level have been suggested. and Kathy, I think, is looking into some ideas for that. There is a budget item for this event that hasn't been spent in the current budget. I don't want to spend the whole amount that's on that line, but we do have money for a mailing and some other items.
Next Wednesday.
Should the board consider being involved in actually knocking on businesses and asking if they want to contribute incentive gifts for donations, or?
We didn't have a lot of luck with that previously. It's really hard these days to get donations out of businesses. And that's just something that we discovered walking around sending letters. They seem to be more willing to get a letter and write a check than hand something over. So, I mean, that doesn't mean that we can't try it. It's just past experience has been that it hasn't been a great source.
In past years, when I've done fundraising, not necessarily for community television, but many years ago, I would just go to businesses that I go to, restaurants and things like that, and the first thing I say is, how's business, even if I've never been there before. And when they say business is great, I say, oh, how would you like to help support the organization? So anytime you're out at a restaurant or just in any kind of a store where they have nice little gifts, it can't hurt to just say, would you like to support? And you all have business cards, just bring them with you and let them know. And we probably should have some kind of a letter that we can bring with us, because a lot of them will ask for our 501c3 certification. So. Yes.
If they know your face and they see you and you shop there and you frequent there, usually you can get a donation of some sort from them if they're like, oh, hey, how are you? Yes, we see you all the time. Okay, we'll donate something to your
Kathy,
cause.
could you email that letter out to us? Because I was.
Is that the same, probably a similar one that we used a couple years ago?
Possibly. I'll see if I can locate it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm talking to a couple of businesses for smaller donations, and it would be nice to have that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Are you talking about 501c3?
Yeah, the letter you mentioned.
Actually, I have a letter from the last time we did this.
Oh, you did? Well, maybe just send it to me.
Our committee's meeting next Wednesday
Is this the fundraising
at
committee?
3 o'clock. Yeah,
Oh,
That's the plan.
the fundraising.
okay.
And I would encourage all members and board members to help us out with all the work that it's going to take to get this telethon going. So
Okay.
feel free to help.
Yes.
Did you want to talk to the mic? Yeah, certainly.
Hi, my name is Brian Schulman. I'm the producer of the BTS Present show here at Community Television. I'm also a volunteer on the Voices from the Village show, and I've participated in one of the fundraising committee meeting discussions. It seems that one of the things that's missing, as far as I can tell, is a phone bank to follow up with people or to make calls to request money or to request participation or whatever that would look like. And there doesn't appear to be any phone team, volunteers scheduled for phone calls, anybody who could make phone calls, anybody who could call on board members, producers, guests on previous shows, community members, anybody like that who might be interested in contributing to the conversation, following up on the letters that were sent, discussing upcoming events, or whatever other purposes a phone calling team could be used to produce results. That was a suggestion that I was going to put in writing before today's meeting, but instead I brought the subject and let Keith know that if I was given the opportunity, I would speak on it.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
Keith? I kind of assumed that that's what the board would do.
Okay.
Among the members, and I don't know what the technical ability is to do the phone bank. We're not, KQED, and I'd like to talk about something when we're done with this that Jennifer and I participated in, but, I plan on being here and helping, and if it takes it, we can start using, if we don't have enough phones, we'll use our cell phones for people to call in, because that's exactly what we have to have. When people say yes, we need to follow up, so I thought it was a good comment. But I assume that that's details that you'll be working out as you talk among yourselves.
Okay. And Doria's right, the next meeting of the Fund Development Committee will be next Wednesday at 3 p.m. here at Community Television. Okay.
For we're done with this item, I'd like to just mention Jennifer and I went to, it's somewhat related to this, not directly to the fundraising, but she and I and Kathy Bisbee went to a conference in Concord. It was sponsored by a nonprofit, and it was basically to kind of help people in the world of fundraising or fund development. And we were given a large book. But the thing that I took away from it is the amount of effort that goes into that, and the professionalization and the organization and just the plethora of media that's out there that's being done. And, you know, we're starting that path, and I'm glad there's money in our budget to start a development director. But it was really amazing just to see all the people there. I mean, it was amazing how many staff members some of these organizations have, and they're way bigger than us, a lot of them. But it was an interesting exposure to a world that community TV is going to be a part of. And so I was glad to go, and you know, I spent my day or half a day and learned a lot, and I'd be curious the types of and qualities of people we have when we're able to recruit for a development director, and that, because it's just a whole world out there that's just exploding in new technology and ideas. Now, whether it brings in more money, I don't know, but it was interesting to see. You had any comments, Jennifer?
Yeah, I enjoyed the day as well. I would say one of the takeaways I got was how important it is to align with people who really believe in our vision versus the guy next door and our mother and our fathers who may support us but may not really feel the importance of public television and community television. And she talked a lot about that, and what a gift it is to be an avenue for someone to share their vision, and that we need to really look at our donors as people with vision that can use us to carry their mission out. And she talked a lot about having the donor in mind when we are creating that experience of community television. Like, we're not just giving them an opportunity to write a check, they're not ATMs, but we're giving them an opportunity to be part of this community and this rich creative force that we're a part of. So it was a very inspiring morning. And again, she talked a lot about the evidence-based ways that we can go about raising money, that we shouldn't just do it like we've always done it or not done it, but that there are ways that actually are really effective, and that there's a whole bank of information for that, so that we can really use that.
One final comment, when you said evidence-based, she gave some examples, and I won't go into that, but when I saw the picture in your fundraising letter, that's a good thing based on what I heard at this conference. It's positive, it shows people, and it shows energy.
We're working on even better pictures than
Okay, well, that was a good one.
And that idea that we are telling a story, that is so perfect for us as an organization. We are telling a story, and we couldn't, I mean, that's an identity that we get to really, really be a part of. So.
Well, I'd like to thank you both for going to that. That was very, very good for our board.
Yeah, I think the suggestions would be really helpful. Anything that you want to bring to the table about ideas for the fundraiser would be really good.
Jennifer takes copious notes.
Yes. I
presented them actually to the fundraising
Oh, you did?
committee,
Okay.
so they have a summary.
We had Jennifer come to the first fundraising
Oh,
meeting.
good.
Yeah.
It was so copious, one lady didn't want to sit next to her, so I sat next to her. I guess I'm a little denser than that person.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, so we are at the point where if we could approve the telethon and the report from the Fund Development Committee, that would be great.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we approve a fundraising letter going out with amendments as mentioned and that are appropriate, and a telethon to be held at the end of June.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. The next item is the report out from the closed session of March 25th, special meeting. And I have what we reported out. And that is that we approved the contract with Lynn Miller through August. Lynn's graciously agreed to stay for 2 more months in the transition. And thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
Okay. Then we have an oral report from any of the board members, which we just sort of had, but are there any other board members that have an oral report? Okay. And then report from Lynn.
Well, I wanted to do a little something different this evening. You know, it's been a whirlwind around here, around getting ready for the board, trying to make sure that we had a contract, that we didn't go into default and end up with an RFP. And while all of that has been going on, staff have been doing their work, incredibly doing their work, because you recall this year's budget also had a reduction. So I wanted tonight to start out with inviting Kathy to speak briefly about what's happening with our volunteers, then Ryan to speak a little bit about production, and then Craig, because you need to hear from them, because they're where the rubber meets the road. And while all this other stuff is going on, they have managed to keep that together while I've been focused toward getting the contract. So I'd like Kathy to start, and the others will follow her.
Hi, guys. So I'm going to give you a summary right now of our classes. Since January 1st, 2013, we've had a total of 44 classes serving 122 members. We had two orientations. We have one on a weekday evening and one on a Saturday morning each month. The most popular class at this time is the HD camera class, because we just switched over from mini DV to HD camera. Since we've retired all the mini DV cameras, only HD cameras are available to members, and we're offering 2 HD camera classes a month. We have certified 72 more students since January 1st. 72 more students, including 15 producers, 21 on HD camera. We have 10 new Final Cut Pro editors. This is one of the classes that had several cancellations I wanted to point out, and I'm pretty sure it's because of the price of the class. We've doubled our price of the Final Cut Pro class, but we had to cancel a couple of them because of no enrollments. Access facilitator Craig Goldstein is preparing for the Teen TV Summer Camp, which has been really successful over the years. It's in cooperation with the City Parks and Recs. We got an email this week that said they're filling up already. Usually it fills up pretty quickly. It's a great class, and Craig does a really wonderful job. It's for students 13 to 18, and they learn all aspects of studio television production from concept to completed show. They work with skilled CTV trainers, design sets, run cameras, direct, mix sound, and prepare studio graphics. Students will make creative production decisions. Performing in front of the camera is encouraged but not required, and as a final project, the students will produce and co-direct and crew a variety-type program that incorporates everything that they've learned in the class. Their enrollment will include a CTV studio camera certification and a membership for CTV. The studio camera class that they're doing is July 22nd to 26th. They have to sign up through Parks and Rec. They can't sign up through community television. This class has been so successful over the past few years, usually filling up within a week, that we've added a Teen TV field production class, and Craig's been working really hard putting that together. This course will focus on field video production from concept to completion, working with HD cameras, field audio equipment, and advanced Mac-based editing software. Students will produce short documentaries and magazine-style videos for cablecasts on the channels. Students will also learn pre-production planning, shot composition, storytelling, working with shot lists, interviewing techniques, voiceover recording, basic digital editing, and how to use titles and graphics to spruce up a video. I don't know how Craig is going to do it all in 1 week, but he probably will, because he's pretty good at getting it all in there. Students will make key creative production decisions each day and will include hands-on training. That class is July 15th through the 19th, and both of them are 9:30 to 12:30, and they also have to sign up for through Parks and Rec. Each camp is 1 week long, and all students always seem to be enjoying themselves. Craig is a really excellent teacher when it comes to that. And he was going to come up and talk about, just recently, he had a large group from the Renaissance High School came in here, and they did a complete studio mock show with a news. I think they used blue screen, and everyone got their hands on everything. They all just kept moving around. So they all looked like they were having great fun, and I think Sandino Gomez was in on that helping, and everyone looked like they had a great time. So it's always enjoyable to see that. Also, through Parks and Rec, board member Dory Steinman will be giving an Acting for the Camera summer camp here at CTV, and will be donating all her proceeds from this camp to community television. Please help spread the word. This is a 2-week class, 10 mornings, Monday through Friday, 10 to noon. Students will learn techniques for film and video with comparisons to stage acting while shooting commercials, improvisations, short monologues, and how to make a movie. And that class starts June 17th through June 28th. That's classes. Membership summary as of today. As of today, we have a total of 444 members, which is kind of impressive, except that 211 of them are current. 42 of them are in grace period, which means that their membership has expired, but they have about a month to renew. Like, they could still use the equipment, but by the end of that month, they become lapsed. We have 191 members that are lapsed. We send out letters right before their membership expires. We let them know their membership is about to expire. We put in a membership form and a return envelope, and hope that they mail it back with their check and renew. Some, regular users will renew every time, but there's more and more people who are not. We have 10 nonprofit organizational members this year, which is, I think, the most that we've ever had. That's a $150 membership. I wanted to mention it's the Community Foundation of Santa Cruz, Hope Services, Santa Cruz Art League, Soquel Creek Water District, First Church of Christ Scientists, Human Care Alliance, Monterey Bay Conservancy, New Families Incorporated, Santa Cruz Revival, and we just got in UCSC Cessnon Art Gallery, and we're going to be doing a project for them soon, I think. Volunteer hours. This fiscal year, we have over 3,419 volunteer hours logged this year in our database. Over 3,000 is production crew related, and that does not include intern hours. I suspect this number doesn't reflect the hours that the members of the board have spent, and I encourage you all, if you can, figure out how many hours you've put in this fiscal year so far, and just shoot me an email and let me know so that we can make sure that we can include those hours. Those are volunteer hours that we should keep track of. We want to thank all of our interns who have been helping CTV through productions. We couldn't have done it without them. They also cover a lot of our government meetings now. And I personally would like to thank Nicole Johnson, who's been volunteering 20 hours a week, every week, for, I don't know, maybe 6 months now, and she's been wonderful, and it's great to have her around. We have on record that I know of $2,200 of donations since July 1st, and that includes the David Gott Memorial Scholarship Fund. And the last thing I wanted to say was RealWorks. We're sponsoring the RealWorks for the 12th year in a row, and Monday the 29th, they're having a screening here in the studio. They'll be screening a movie called Out at Work. It's Monday the 29th at 7 p.m. And thank you. And I think Ryan Mulligan is going to report in on some production. I'm going to go help him direct, and he's going to come out here.
Thanks, Catherine.
Good job.
I think it's really exciting that we've got a lot of volunteers and a lot of members and it just seems like the energy is heading in the right direction, and I think that's really positive.
Hello.
Hi, Ryan.
Hi, Ryan.
I'm here to talk about production. I'll just start off simply. We've had 67 major productions in the last fiscal year, 26 since January, not including over 140 government meetings that we've covered. 200 hours of that was contributed by interns this last fiscal year. We've been using them just about in every government meeting when we're not there by ourselves. So that saved us a great deal of money as opposed to having 2 staff members there. Some major productions that I'll just highlight that I'm particularly proud of are our work with the Santa Cruz Public Libraries and Santa Cruz Reads Project. Last year's Edgar Allan Poe and this year's Steinbeck reads were pretty fantastic. I'll have to thank Emery Hudson for last year, and Peter McGittigan did pretty much every production this year with you guys, and they've all come out pretty spectacular. I'm most proud of our work with the Queer Youth Task Force and the Queer Youth Leadership Awards. It's the one I produce. We're working on this year's project right now, finishing up last year's. And we recently got an award, a hometown award, for 2011's, which is pretty awesome. They're quite excited with us. I'll also note that we did a lot of election coverage last year. Continuing to cover Gail Rich Awards, working with Motion Pacific and doing events such as National Dance Week, although we didn't do it this year. And I'll mention the Japanese Cultural Fair being one of our largest projects this year, finally completed. On a mildly positive note, if only mildly, at least it's done and they're quite happy with it. So, yeah. I'll talk a little bit about interns and collaboration. We've been collaborating with CMAP. They've been using our interns for productions such as the Watsonville Film Festival, the August Bash, and the Grow White Garlic Festival. We've also been collaborating with the Warriors. They've been using our interns to work on Warriors games, primarily doing graphics. That would be Veda, Josh, and Jenny Odell. If you don't mind, I'm going to list a handful of the interns we've had. Some of them have come and gone. And some of the things that they've contributed to. Starting with Veda Navarro, who I've since hired as my production assistant. She's done pretty much everything, working over 640 hours her first year. She produces Latinos Al Dia. She directed last year's Queer Youth Leadership Awards. She's done pretty much every graphic design project for me since she's been on board, and including last year's Queer Youth Leadership Awards, National Dance Week. She's redesigned our templates that staff use on every production, and continues to do that work for us, and now gets paid for a good deal of it. Joshua Vincent from Cabrillo College. He has contributed a lot of short news pieces in addition to being a major part of a lot of the collaboration work we've done with CMAP. He has a really good relationship with Kathy Bisbee and Emery Hudson. He's also helped us bring in a large handful of interns from Cabrillo Journalism, including Jocelyn McCam, who has worked on several government meetings as well as helped produce one of our interns' late night talk shows as well as hosted it. Tony Nunez, who helped produce and hosted this year's Lions Bowl as well as a series of football season preview programs, produced entirely by himself for free. I'm suddenly going blank. I'll also mention, I guess I'll just continue down my list, Jordan Lewis, who's been around for about 3 years now. He continues to help us out in the offices and work on production. Sarah Cullum, who worked pretty much every county meeting over the summer until she got a job and then became unavailable. She's a pretty dedicated young high school student from Aptos. Sarah Mendez is a new addition. She's a recent graduate from the university and is looking for some work experience. She currently works for the Warriors. I'd like to mention Greg McKenzie, who's working on camera back here. He's brand new as well, trying to get some work experience, particularly in editing. Jenny Odell's been working with us for about 2 years and is still around. She also interns for CMAP and Create TV in San Jose. She recently got several gigs for Pac-12, working on some soccer games. I was quite proud of her for that. She also works for the Warriors. For us, she has contributed countless hours of editing and government production. Kelsey Doyle has worked on several edit projects for us, including Queer Youth Leadership Awards, and she's worked on several government productions. Coral Barker Hall, on his own, has produced several programs for us, including an open mic night, as well as was a co-producer on one of our late night intern programs. Joel Furloff worked on this year's Gathering of Extraordinary People, which is an event we do with Imagine. Another thing to note is we started a collaboration with Imagine where we donated hours from our interns to help them produce their own productions. They produced and edited their productions with a little support from our interns. Let's see, Jerome and Naya has just been a loyal volunteer working camera like these guys. Marina Anderson also co-produced a late night program and has contributed her talents to the camera. Rebecca Bonilla-Myers, currently just back home picking on her sister at the moment. I should note, though, that she edited all of last year's Queer Youth Leadership Award videos. I got a couple people call me up to thank me for the work on that, but she did it. They said that they cried. So I was particularly proud of that. Cami Kershak is currently working on commercials in Los Angeles, both as a writer and as talent. She was with us last year, hosted our late night show, worked on several government meetings, and done what these guys are doing. Chris Porter is directing right now. She's a brand new intern and she's from the university. She's been contributing as much as she can, both on government meetings and productions like this. And finally, Matt West, who has also worked on several government meetings and actually has written for me some small, fun PSA type pieces. On top of that, I guess I'll mention that we've won a few awards this year. One for sports, a WAVE award. We had 6 nominations for WAVE, 3 of which were for Veda Navarro for her work on Latinos al Dia, Cabrillo College Shorts, and her late night talk show. We won a hometown award for the 2011 Queer Youth Leadership Awards, and actually that's about it. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Yep. Okay, cool. Thank you.
You see why I want to have staff take time with the board.
Yes.
It's important for you to know what they do on a daily basis. Jack Hansen's not here tonight, but we'll ask him in the future to talk about what he and Ron do. And then Amanda, is he here? I forgot that he's helping us out tonight. But I want to do this each meeting that I'm here now for a while so that you know it's really important to keep track of what the daily stuff is, because it does get lost in the moment. So I just wanted to make sure that you had this opportunity. I'll make my remarks brief tonight. As you well know, we appeared before the board, Kathy Bisbee and I, and many of the board members, in what I call the final round of whether we survive or not. The Board of Supervisors and Kevin Bowling agreed that we should have a 1-year contract. The board voted on that. In that contract is our 13-14 budget. In addition to that, the board voted for $27,000 for our staff development person. That money is specifically in 2012-13's budget and actually will be hired by CMAP to work with CMAP until our July budget starts, and then we CTV will hire then the development director. May not necessarily be the same person, but that's how we're going to do it. And that was just to expedite getting this done before the beginning of the fiscal year. Also in the board hearings was set aside $150,000 for the equipment that's necessary to start to become more efficient about the way in which we do our work. And in addition to that, we spoke about Cabrillo College and our meetings with them. We continue to have those meetings, very hopeful. But I feel very satisfied, this board should feel satisfied that we're here. I know the newspaper said it was a rough road ahead. Well, I guarantee you it's not the yellow brick road, but it isn't a rough road ahead. I think you're going the right direction, and I think the vision really ought to be that it's a road ahead, period. And I want to thank you for the opportunity of being able to be here. It's been an interesting experience. I promise you that this is my last experiment, and I've loved every minute of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
The next item is requests for any items to go on the agenda for June 27th meeting. Any special requests?
Well, we'll probably have to do last minute details about the telethon, I'm
Right.
sure. So,
Be the next day.
telethon.
Yeah.
That would be my specific request.
So when do we begin discussions
Maybe that
about
weekend.
a new fundraising person? that, when does
I'm
that?
sorry, did you hear the question?
When do we begin discussions about a new fundraising person? Is that's already in place, or that's up for the?
Well, to be clear, CMAP is going to start with the staff development person. They will hire that person. We'll start then to develop the program. It won't make any difference who we hire in July. That person will start the process. So I'm assuming from Kathy and I's discussion that they'll be hiring somebody by May 15th.
Wow, okay.
But what about won't we have our own recruitment process? Because I think.
We'll have almost a simultaneous one. I'll start in May, putting
Okay.
out advertising and start that process.
So we
to
don't
hire.
need to do anything on the agenda to initiate you doing it, you're already doing it.
No, you've already authorized it
Okay.
in the 2013-14 budget and the CMAP contract. At least that's what I believe you've done.
Yes.
So on the June agenda, should there be discussion about long-term goals as well as the short-term item that we have on the books?
I'm not sure, if we don't have a development director, can we do that?
Well, one of the things that was discussed at the event that Joe and I went to was that concept of cultivating those relationships with people who really care about CTV. And that is that's a long-term process. And it doesn't seem that would be something that we would have to put off until we get somebody. That seems like something that we could start discussing about how we want, as board members, to look at our relationships in the community and start building something new. I don't know why we would have to wait for somebody. Do you think we would have to wait?
No, I think I think those kind of collaboratives are extremely important, and they're about survivability. And the more people you bring in terms of what your mission is and what your vision is, the better off you are. I think that could start as part of the fundraising committee and then go from there. I will say that, I recognize that most all of you have other lives. So that's the reason we really want to focus on getting a a development person here, because their focus will be 100% on this project. And I know Kathy Bisbee attended the same conference you did, and she might be able to speak to it at our next meeting about what her vision is. I just don't want to step too far ahead of
Right.
where CMAP might be.
Another thing they mentioned was the idea of having really clear directives for board members, having a list. And there are things that were recommended that board members should be aware of, that were their responsibilities, and maybe have that, as far as fundraising, have that be addressed as well at some point. And maybe we need to wait for somebody new, I don't know, but there were suggested items that we could look at. The speaker said that it would be a good idea not to just leave it to the fundraising committee, but that the whole board be involved at the step in the process as well. So it's just thinking it'd be good to have it at least on the agenda, or something on the agenda for us.
Well, I would plan, currently trying to put in motion a board retreat. We didn't have one this year for August. And the reason to address exactly what you said. So that's probably what we should have on the next board meeting, is a discussion of a board retreat for late summer.
And as far as the reaching out to people passionate about community TV, the telethon is our first opportunity for that. And the idea of getting that phone bank together and making those follow-up calls, I think, is part of that process.
The other thing we might just mention, if somebody wants to put an announcement out, who should they call if anybody's watching this that wants to participate in that? Because, we're just around the corner from it. We probably won't have too many more. I mean, it can go on the ads, it can be public announcements on community TV, but should they be contacting Kathy if they want to be part of this, if they're watching this and they're members?
Well, Kathy's boss is sitting here, so I'll ask Lynn, who should they contact?
Well, the answer is yes. We're here and we're available. I've tried to minimize what staff are doing around this fundraising because of their other responsibilities, but that we can do, and we can give them Kathy's name.
I could probably put a form at the front desk desk, so anyone at the front desk, if someone calls and wants to volunteer, we can at least get their name, phone number, and email address, and we can forward that off to you when Nicole is here. We could
Okay.
just,
I just think it's a good idea. If we're starting now, that's a good thing to just start with.
Yeah.
We may only get 3 or 4 people, but that's a start. That
Right.
adds on to our 3 or 4 here.
I would say if anyone wants to volunteer their time, their money, their products, whatever, they can just call 425-8848 and leave a message on extension 21, and we'll make sure that the information goes to the right place.
And that was 425.
425-8848, extension 21.
Thank you, Kathy.
I was just looking at the response card again, that's going to go out with the letter, and there's no place for people to put their name and contact information, so that probably.
Sorry, I've got to write that down. Okay. Well, that was sort of, are there any other announcements? We're sort of doing announcements. Ron?
I have to admit, I kind of cringe, Keith, when you say board retreat. As historian, I need to point out it's almost always been board staff retreat. However, we have discussed this, and it may be that this is one of those times when a board retreat is more appropriate, because I think you really do need to keep working on reinventing yourself. The membership voted to give you the power to constitute the board, to enlarge it, whatever it takes to get the fundraising that we need. So, that's pretty important stuff. But I have to just point that out, that it usually is board staff retreat. The other thing I wanted to bring up, and I know this is kind of nebulous, but our future physical location is a really, really important element. And I think it's important, and I'm not the person to talk about it, but perhaps Lynn can bring us up to date on the tannery and Cabrillo College, and how long can we stay here. Those questions I think the audience and members are very interested in, so thanks.
Well, Ron, I just want to chime in. I think it should be a board staff retreat from my perspective.
And it'll be on the agenda for the next meeting, and we can decide that there. Did you want to address that, Lynn?
Sure. Do I have an absolute answer? No. We did discuss the tannery. The tannery is a distance from where we were a couple of months ago, and I think there's a lot of reasons for that. It doesn't mean it couldn't reemerge. In this day and age, one doesn't say absolute. They just say kind of, sort of, maybe. But at this point, we're focusing on Cabrillo College and what we might be able to work with them. They have some physical space. We've talked about it. We're in the very preliminary stage. I want to be clear about that, because I don't want to cast a huge shadow around Cabrillo. When we were just in the starting discussion phases, the lease on this building, I believe, ends in the end of 2014. So then we will have had to have made a decision by that time. I think the county has indicated an interest in making sure we're not particularly here, but we haven't gotten somewhere else yet. And there's other locations that other people are looking at. So I know it's of concern to members. I just think that it's just not there right now, and I really don't have enough information to feel any more comfortable in saying that we're looking at other locations.
End of 2014, is that fiscal year or calendar year?
It's fiscal year. I think it's June of 2014. I'll clarify
Isn't it
that.
November of 2014?
It might be, yeah, I think you're right. It is November of 2014. And then, but we do have an option to go month to month. So when I say the lease is in, the full lease is in at that time. That's the best answer I've got.
Any other announcements? Okay, I believe that adjournment is next on the agenda.
I move we adjourn.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Kate.
Good on you.